Grab a cup of tea or a glass of wine and tune in for Inspired Conversations with publisher Linda Joy. On Tuesdays at 2 p.m. Eastern, Linda creates sacred space for leading female luminaries, empowering authors, heart-centered female entrepreneurs, coaches, and healers. A soulful venue where guests openly share the fears and obstacles they've overcome, wisdom and lessons learned, and the personal journey that led them to the transformational work they do in the world. Inspired Conversations to empower you on your path to authentic, soulful living.
Welcome to Inspired Conversations. I'm your host, Linda Joy, publisher of Aspire Magazine, the premier inspirational digital magazine for women since 2006. I'm still pinching myself 15 years of inspiring, empowering, and supporting women in living their best lives. And isn't that what the Inspired Conversations show is all about? Bringing you conversations to help you live deeper, more authentic, and inspired lives, personally and professionally. So my friends, did you know that nature can become a deep ally to develop your success in life and business? In this exciting conversation today, an old and dear friend, Lisa Michaels, will be sharing some key insights as to how you can connect to the natural world to nourish your essence and leadership. Lisa Michaels, author of Natural Rhythms, a sacred guide into nature's creation secrets, intuitively mentors thought leaders to align their unique genius using nature's elemental forces of creation, which are earth, water, air, fire, and spirit, and the rhythms of the natural world. Lisa has 30 years experience as an entrepreneur, teacher, trainer, and workshop facilitator. Her products, workshops, trainings, and certifications have helped thousands of heart-centered entrepreneurs discover their life purpose and successfully propel their personal and business lives forward. Lisa, I am so excited, my old friend, to have you with me today.
Oh, Linda, Joy, it is just a delight to be with you. And you have done so much for the community over the years that you've been of service. And I just really want to appreciate all that you have brought to the community in all the ways that you help people.
Well, you know, my passion lies, and you're the same way, my friend. You have this deep desire to share your sacred gifts in a way that uplifts others, especially heart-centered thought leaders. Yeah. And I've watched you, God, we've known each other over a decade now, and we've played and partnered and gotten to know each other over those years. And I've just watched you evolve. And I just love the work you're doing in the world. So I'm trying to think, where do I want to start? Where do I dive in? So why don't we start with what I said in the opening? So how can nature support heart-centered thought leader entrepreneurs like myself and so many in this community?
Nature can help in a tremendous number of ways. Nature is actually a model for how we create as well, because we're kind of made with in that same likeness. And when you use nature both as a place to go to really get connected to your essence, to find your deeper purpose, to really get some guidance, it's very powerful because it helps you to center and to ground and to actually receive guidance. And then when you connect with your own being, because we are a part of nature, and you use those energies both externally and internally as guidance tools, it's an incredibly powerful thing. For me, certainly, and for anybody, taking a nice deep breath of air, it infuses you, it opens you to new insights, to new wisdom, and it helps you to work. Right now, we're using the power of air, the power of our voices, the connection that we have to the invisible. We don't see these words, we hear them, and we have resonance. So there is so many ways that nature can help us when we consciously connect to it and we really use what we learn from nature in our everyday life and certainly in our business, and as thought leaders, to use that connection, that tool, it would just uplift you so profoundly.
Now, Lisa, how did you discover this work on your own journey? Like, what was your evolution?
Well, it's really interesting because to start with, I was a ballet teacher. I actually had a 500 pupil ballet school. And I had been studying all these different things in my life. And I had a spiritual teacher out in California. And I went and stayed with her one night. I said, I have been studying all these different things. And as a dance teacher, I see patterns really well, but I don't see what the pattern is of this. I don't really know what it's all about. And the next morning, I woke up with this, like literally like a whoosh inside of me, this download that I have been studying the elemental forces of creation and how they function in your consciousness. And each of the things that I've been studying, they all fit into a different path. So, sacred geometry fit into air. The emotional work I'd been studying fit into water. The grounded, earth connected spirituality fit into earth. Money work fit into earth. And fire was all the movement and action oriented things. And honestly, Linda, in the beginning, I just thought, well, that's really interesting. That's cool. Now I know what I've been doing. And then about 6 months later, I got this just deep inner guidance that I needed to start teaching it. And so I did. And because these are the forces, they're literally forces that create and hold our world into shape and form. And because they're living energies, the body of work just grew. The more people that worked with it, the more it grew. The more I connected to it, the more it grew. And it just has really, honestly, helped a lot of people over a lot of years. Strengthen their leadership, get more connected to their purpose, feel like they have support internally and externally. I mean, in so many ways, it has guided many, many people into a much deeper relationship to nature, which helps inform every decision that you make, honestly.
Well, we've gone back, God, I think it's been more than a decade actually, because it was when your work was really coming out and you'd write for Aspire. I've had you on other events, and I've watched the lives being changed by the work. And what I love about the work that you do is that now you're even more focused on, I want these tools to support heart-centered thought leaders because they're the change makers, which means a bigger ripple effect will go out.
Absolutely.
Yeah, and it's been beautiful watching you and just seeing the dynamics in action. So one of my questions is, so we know, there's earth, water, air, fire, and spirit. So when, let's say you're struggling with something, let's say you're trying to get clarity. So I think that would be air, if I'm correct. Do you call it in? Do you say, okay, I know I need to work with air because I'm not feeling clear? Or give us another example. Like, how do you call in what you need from the elements?
Well, first of all, it's like anything else. Like when you and I talk, when we connect, it's, hi, Linda, how are you? It's back to, how are you, Lisa? Like we form this connection. So when you first start working with the elements, you literally want to like honor them. Like, I really appreciate the precious breath of life that air brings me. And so when I go outside and connect to air, I am honoring that blessing and I'm really making that conscious connection. When I go sit next to a body of water, you literally like put your awareness in the water, or you can do this when you're taking a shower. Thank you, water, for cleansing me, for nourishing me when you take a drink of water. So you're going to form that relationship. That's like the foundation with each of the elements. And then as you approach, let's say for clarity, as in your example, you I mean, even though you can access air anywhere, I like to go outside in the fresh air and really connect in the natural world. And I might just ask for that clarity, for what I need to know next to be super clear. And a lot of times I'll take a piece of paper with me, and I recommend people do this because a lot of times you'll get guidance immediately. Some people get it later, and it can come in a lot of different ways. You don't want to compare how you receive guidance. You may just get an insight all of a sudden. A lot of times a lot of things will just come to me. Or maybe I'm just walking along and pretty soon I'll get an insight about what it is next for clarity. But what's interesting is that the realms work with each other. So you may not have clarity because you're emotionally upset. Water's the emotional realm. So sometimes something else needs to be cleared to get that clarity. Or maybe your space is a total mess and you need to physically clean up for clarity to come. So while you can work with them separately, they overlap. And sometimes it's also another realm that is influencing what you're experiencing.
That's a great example of, it's like you have to really be paying attention.
Yes.
Because as you were describing how people receive, I'm like you, it just drops in. It's like, thank you. And I always give thanks. It's like, oh, thank you. That was the piece I needed.
Yep.
But for me, it's sitting outside by the water. So I am in the middle of the woods on a spring-fed pond. So I have a little bit of both. I have the water, but I have the earth. And I'll tell you, I get my answers there.
Yeah.
I get my answers there. I can remember spending 35, 40 of my almost 60 years trying to make answers come or trying to push. Come on. We've all done it. Come on, listeners. I know you can relate. And now I just go, step away, Lynn. Step away.
Yeah.
And when I let go and just lean back and sit outside and just watch the water, it's almost like, I don't know. I don't want to say ego, but something moves out of the way so truth can drop in.
Yeah. And you have to be open to receiving insights.
That was a big one for me. That was a big healing for me 20 years ago about allowing myself to receive. And that's anything, not just this topic. Mm-hmm. And you know what, Lisa, we're going to take our break. When we come back,
sure.
I want to dive into how water impacts your life and business, because so many in my circle, they're like, I need the ocean. I have to get outside. And I think that's a deep yearning of our soul telling us something when we get that pull towards something.
Yeah.
So we'll be back in a moment. You're listening to Inspired Conversations. I'm with Lisa Michaels of lisa-michaels.com. We'll be right back.
This is OTR-FM, part of the IOM radio network.
Inspiration for a woman's soul. Aspire Magazine, inspiring and supporting women on the path of self-discovery. Claim your free digital subscription today, which includes access to thousands of dollars of personal development bonus gifts from Team Inspiration partners. Claim your Aspire Magazine subscription today at subscribetoaspire.com.
Hey America, we need to have a little talk. We've got more food than we know what to do with in this country, yet 17 million kids in America are struggling with hunger. Makes no sense. Luckily, the Feeding America nationwide network of food banks has volunteers gathering excess food and getting it to hungry kids. They're kind of like food angels. Hey, become a food angel yourself by supporting Feeding America in your local food bank at feedingamerica.org. We can't do it without your help. Brought to you by Feeding America and the Ad Council.
Are you trying to get from point A to point B and need a little advice? Connect with the counselors at OMTimes Advisors. Whether you're looking for a life coach or a spiritual intuitive, the advisors participating at advisors.omtimes.com were carefully chosen based on their gifts, skills, and professionalism. OMTimes Advisors, connecting you with the best advisors in the business.
Hi everyone, this is Shay Parker, the host of Best of the Best, which airs live right here on IOM Radio every Tuesday night at 8 p.m. Eastern and 5 p.m. Pacific. I'm super excited to bring you expert guest hosts, spiritual discussions, free psychic readings, and so much more. I can promise that you will not want to miss this one-of-a-kind, fun, yet touching, down-to-earth show. Join us every Tuesday night at 8 p.m. Eastern, 9 p.m. Pacific on OTRFM. This is Shay Parker, and I can't wait to see you there.
This is OTRFM, part of the IOM Radio Network.
Welcome back, friends. You're listening to Inspired Conversations. With me today is Lisa Michaels, author of Natural Rhythms. So, Lisa, how does water impact life and business?
Oh, it just gives me cold chills when you ask that question, Linda, because seriously, it impacts things in so many ways. Because water represents the emotional realm, when we have old emotions, and sometimes they're buried so deep that you don't even know you have them, they form the undercurrent for what we magnetize in our life. And I've seen so many people, maybe they've had an old thing that was shaming for them. And maybe let's just say for a moment that it was about money. Well, that impacts your relationship with money until you heal it and clear it out of your emotional body. So there's just a multitude of ways. Emotional development, I think, is one of our biggest keys to unlocking what we want in life, and really seeing what your emotional patterns are, what they're driving, and what they're magnetizing. And the key to that really is allowing yourself to look at the patterns that you're dealing with emotionally. And that pull and that call toward water, I think, is toward the depth of our being. We know instinctively, and we were conceived in a watery realm. We grew for the first 9 months of our lives in a watery world. So that water brings us back to that connection to our depth, to our souls, if you will, to the very essence of our being. And it's just a really powerful relationship. Water's what nourishes us, what regenerates us, rejuvenates us. I mean, it brings so many blessings. And it can be the place that if there are old trapped emotions that need to move, that need to be felt, that, it can stop us sometimes from doing what is our highest good until we really recognize it and move through it and find our way to a new path.
Yeah, it's been a real healing force in my life, even from a young teen. Anytime something was bothering me, I don't live far from Cape Cod. I just, out of all the places I could go, that's where I went, to this quiet little beach.
Beautiful.
And I'll tell you, just being there, being alone, being with my thoughts, sometimes crying, sometimes screaming, I can guarantee every single time I walked away feeling more complete.
Yeah.
And
very
I still do it
powerful.
I still do it to this day. And now I'm blessed that I have my own beach right here. But yeah, every day when my honey gets home, we go sit in our beach chairs and give thanks.
That's great.
And connect. Now, one of the things you said too is about the emotional layers and about the stories and the shame, and how something could be, you used, I think, abundance or finances as an example. And it brought me back to all the years, because I was a welfare mom 30 years ago. Even though I didn't consciously know it, there was a shame associated with that I went through that tough time for those 3 years.
Yeah.
And then I carried it forward thinking, oh, queen of self-sabotage, financial misfit. It became a story.
Yeah.
Unconsciously, of course. It wasn't like I wanted the darn story, but it was there.
Right.
And it wasn't until maybe 2 decades ago when I said, When I kept noticing words I'd use, I'm like, what are you doing? No wonder that's what you're attracting, right? More of the same. So I had to rewrite my script, deal with the emotional and the shame wounds. And that's when my life and businesses started to thrive. So that really resonated with me because so many others could be struggling with those same things and they're not tying it back to a stuck emotion from a wound.
Exactly. I see that a lot, actually, Linda, a lot.
In regard to finances and shame and past mistakes.
And business growth, yes. And taking their work, your work out in the world. You work with visibility. I see it around visibility. I see it in many areas of where people are trying to, like they're trying to move into more, be more, have more, experience more. And they come up against that place where those old stories, those old emotions live, and they have to literally do exactly what you said, rewrite it, heal the emotions, and allow space to feel what they feel. I mean, a lot.
It's so true. And as you mentioned, I know my work's now around sacred visibility. And yes, I give people a platform to be visible. But more than that, I noticed over the last 5 years, Lisa, is there are amazing healers, teachers, guides, coaches who have unique and sacred gifts that I know can change the world.
Yeah.
But every time they come up against I call it a visibility trigger, it's an old wound that prevents them from bringing their work to the world in the fullest way possible, right? So they can change lives. I keep holding up a mirror to say, that's an old story.
Yep.
So it's the same thing as you're talking about, right? It's Absolutely. They have to work through those layers. And I tell them, I'm just here to hold a mirror up. I see the truth of who they are. They've just forgotten. And they let those old wounds stop them. But God, the world needs their gifts.
Yep. 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 And many times too, and what's kind of an interesting part of this is that because we are created from the cells of our parents, and they were created from the cells of their parents, our lineage issues also get passed down. So sometimes we're dealing with something that is way older than we are even. So those patterns are even more interesting to see and to heal because they're not necessarily something that we experienced right here and now. And it's kind of unnamed, like where did this strange fear come from? Or, why do I not feel okay stepping out? It could come from, your grandmother's grandmother, for all you know, but you can still find it in yourself and clear it, and it will make a huge difference.
Yeah, it's something you said earlier. It's about identifying the patterns. When you see a pattern, and if it's not a pattern not leading you to the life or business that you desire, it's time to go deep into that pattern to identify the stories behind it.
Yeah, absolutely.
And so you work with the elements is what helps them do so.
Definitely. Definitely.
Now, why would someone intentionally want to connect with the essence of air?
Well, air is a really, really interesting element because it is the invisible realm. When I first, I had my ballet school, so we were physically in the same space. Then I facilitated workshops for many years where we were in the same space. And when I started to go online, I'm like, this is so weird. I'm not seeing any people. I'm just having to transmit this message, like just send it out over the airwaves. You have no idea where it goes. You have no idea where it lands. That's the power of the invisible realm. I mean, think about too, a ship, a boat with a sail, and how air just moves it along because it catches in those sails. Or a bird in flight, how it just swoops and soars and catches a current. That's what air can do. years ago, I was actually chosen by Hay House as one of their movers and shakers. And I got a call from Cheryl Richardson, and I had been really, really like, oh my gosh, I felt like I was, wasn't getting anywhere with all that I'd been doing. I'd really learned to go online. I was really working hard, taking things to the next level. And when Cheryl's call came in that I had won this, sincerely, it felt like this huge upliftment of air energy. Like I just got my whole business just like moved forward, because that's what upliftment can do. That's what you sharing on your radio show does. It propels the energy of something forward as it takes it further out. But again, because it's invisible, we don't know exactly where it's going to go or how it's going to land. But we can set our intention, we can visualize, we can design our dreams into being. This is where you picture things and move them from the invisible into form as you design and structure what you want. That's what you need to do with your business to really move it forward, is to spend some time designing it. That's an air realm tool.
I'm loving this conversation. Lisa, I have a question for you when we come back from the next break, and it just dropped in. It's like, are there, as a business owner, do we have tasks or parts of our business that fall under each category that would help our audience understand? So we'll be back in a moment. I am here with Lisa Michaels of lisa-michaels.com. Be sure to get on over there and check out all her sacred offerings. We'll be right back.
This is OTR-FM, part of the IOM Radio Network.
Are you being called to step into your truth and embrace your divinity? Are you ready to align your heart and soul, live an authentic life, and become a divine magnet for love and abundance? It's time to listen to your inner wisdom and clear the blocks holding you back from your best life. Leading intuitive prosperity coach, Akashic Records practitioner, and evidential medium Jamie Hearn of liveyourdivinity.com empowers and supports spiritual women like you to align your inner and outer worlds, embrace your soul's truth, and live your divinity. Through her intuitive gifts, grounded wisdom, and empowered coaching, Jamie guides women back into sacred alignment with their truth. Visit liveyourdivinity.com to learn more about Jamie's empowering programs and to schedule an Akashic record reading.
OMTimes Magazine is one of the leading online content providers of positivity, wellness, and personal empowerment. A philanthropic organization, their net proceeds are funneled to support worldwide charity initiatives via Humanity Healing International. Through their commitment to creating community and providing conscious content, they aspire to uplift humanity on a global scale. OMTimes, co-creating a more conscious lifestyle.
This is Terry Van Horn, and I want to invite you to join me for my weekly radio show, Healing Light, on OMTimes Radio every Wednesday at 6 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. On Healing Light, we want to bring love, light, and blessings into your world. You can find out more about us at www.healinglightonline.com. Blessings.
Me, a cat moving in with a new human. It took a little getting used to. She has these weird games she likes to play, like this giant feather. She sticks it in my face. I swat it away. She sticks it in my face. I swat it away. It's almost like she thinks I enjoy it. But seeing how much fun she gets out of it, well, I guess it makes it all worth it. Humans.
A person is the best thing to happen to a shelter pet. Be that person. Adopt. Brought to you by the Ad Council and the ShelterPetProject.org.
This is OTR-FM, part of the IOM Radio Network.
Welcome back. You're listening to Inspired Conversations. I'm so glad you're circling up with me and my special guest, Lisa Michaels, today. So as you were just speaking about, why someone would want to intentionally connect with air, I was wondering, as a business owner, you know how you know the things you have to do? Like, let's say marketing or networking or creative planning. Is there a place that they fall under the elements so that we could say, ooh, okay, this is under there. Maybe I want to work with that energy. Or does it work differently than that?
Oh no, it absolutely works like that. So let's take fire for a minute. Think about the element of fire. Like when you build a fire, you absolutely have to keep adding a log and adding a log and adding a log to keep the fire burning. Well, that exact same thing has to happen in marketing your business. You can't just like put a log on, go, be visible for 1 minute and think that you're going to build a big enough fire to attract people to it. You have to keep having connections with people, keep showing up and being visible, continue to put logs on that visibility fire. So absolutely, when it comes to marketing and visibility, fire is the realm. Now, when it comes to building community, water's the realm, really helping people to feel loved and nurtured. And you are so good at that, Linda, like super good at that. You build connecting to community and tribe, really, really powerful. So that's where water comes into play. Air is, what is the vision? Where do you want to go? And really taking that and using it as how you design your business, how you design each quarter is like super important. And really using that to propel things forward. Earth is the structures and forms in your business. This is like what is the pathway that my client is going on? How do they pay? What exactly do we do? How does it all fit together? How does it run? How does it work? And spirit, of course, is the essence of the person who's creating that business, because if they're not in alignment with their purpose, in alignment with their own genius, in alignment with who they are, it's going to be a struggle to get a business to come into form and to have shape and to have any energy around it. So that's all of them are super important. And actually everything that we do can be tied to one of the elements.
Oh, I love that. And as I was writing notes 100 miles an hour here. As you described it, it made so much sense, because I know there was a time, I've been an entrepreneur, will be 30 years next year. Started my first business when I got off welfare in 92.
Wow.
And then have just continued. And one of the things that really resonated is about the spirit, right? Now, I always have been purpose driven. Like I never meant to go into business for any of my businesses. I just saw a need and I wanted to fill it. And then it became what it became. But there was times that I lost myself, especially in that first business, back in the 90s, that I look back and say, I can see now that some of my struggles were because I was at a point in my life that I still needed outside validation, right?
Mm-hmm.
So some of the things I would do in my business was to get the award, to get that, but because that wasn't the essence and truth of who I was, I felt off. Does that make sense?
It does.
Because the essence of who I am is service and love based. But because I had a deep wound of self-worth in trying to prove people, like I just got off welfare, they think I can't make it. Oh, yeah. So I was chasing and striving for the first 3 years of that retail business I had for 11 years. So when you said spirit is the essence of an entrepreneur, if we're not in alignment and do our own healing, we can have all the other pieces in place, but still struggle.
Absolutely.
Yeah,
Absolutely.
that was my truth back then.
And one of the things you just talked about, those energies, those feelings, those are what I call unmet emotional needs. And when you lead your business with unmet emotional needs, then you're expecting your business to fill you up, and it can't do that. That's not its job. Its job is for you to run it, for you to fill it with love like you do now. So I see a lot of people struggle when they have unmet emotional needs. Maybe their inner child felt wounded about something and they just haven't filled that up in themselves yet. And when that drives the business, people feel that.
Yeah, and another thing I see quite often in the online world is, well, it's really in the world, not just in the online world. It's when someone doesn't know their own truth or they're not grounded in it.
Yes.
That they have an idea, they might have the most beautiful and sacred idea for a business, but because of their own, I think what you just described, unhealed emotional wounds, all of a sudden they could be on the right path, the one that's right for them, but then they're like, oh, look what Mary's doing, oh my God. And then they're chasing these things that are not their truth because they think, well, if so-and-so did it, and if I can do that, well, that's not their truth. They weren't meant to do that. So they're always chasing what someone else is doing. That would fall under unhealed emotional wounds, correct?
Sure.
And I see it all the time. And then I see their struggle for years until they realize it and heal it. And I get it. But it breaks my heart to see it in action with so many conscious, heart-centered business owners who are here to change the world, but everyone else can see their value and truth, but they can't own it in themselves.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And you find that too?
Definitely. And the thing about it is it's not just one time. We don't do our emotional work once and we're done. Anytime we're going to another level, we're expanding our capacity, we deal with that part of ourselves that was our old ceiling, if you will. Like we have to move through that next level. So you'll find as you're expanding, no matter how far you've gone in business, that you might reach a place where you like need to do more clearing or get some support or more mentoring or learn a new skill. I mean, there's all kinds of ways that can outpicture. So for me, one of the messages, like, just be patient with your own growth. I mean, a tree doesn't beat itself up because it's not as big as it can be. It's growing, it's progressing. So
you have to love it and nurture it and feed it.
Yes, you absolutely do. Absolutely. And appreciate where you've been. I mean, that's not always easy to do right on the other side of it. But now, that's a powerful story that you have, that you were a welfare mom, and, how anybody can come through that and, live a life like you've lived. That's just a powerful message. And you wouldn't have the depth of that message had you not gone through it.
And also, I look back like with no regrets on that period of my life, which has taken a lot of healing, right?
Sure.
But now I look back and I kind of laugh. I go, oh, divine, this is why you had me go through that, to prepare me for the work I'm doing now. So I can have greater compassion, empathy, and it fuels my desire to inspire, empower, and support women on their journey, right? Because I've been on that journey. So I see that every part of my journey was purposely led me to exactly where I am today. That's why I have no regrets.
Yeah, exactly.
I feel blessed that, I found my soul work and that I can just spread love. I just happen to use different media brands to do it because everyone receives differently. Some people like to read, some people like, to listen. So one of the things that you talk about is your genius, right? So how does your spirit or genius, is that also your purpose? How's that impact your success?
Yeah, it can be deeply connected to your purpose, but there's different types of geniuses. Like somebody who's a creator kind of genius. That's the kind of genius I am. And so I'm actively creating. That's why I have so many products and have had so many courses over the years, and keep developing new ones because that's my genius. I expressed it differently as I created dances in the ballet school, but I've expressed it through creating businesses over the years and programs. But somebody might be a person who is about really shining the light on others, there's different expressions of that, but they're a people person. And, like, let's take you or Oprah Winfrey, for example. Like, that's a person that shines the light on other people to, really help them to be more visible and to radiate. And that's that star quality. Then there are people who are just about supporting other people. And then there's a genius type that really is good with service to others. They really pay attention to the timing of things. They're excellent at carrying things forward. And then there are detail kind of geniuses, very good with the minutia and the tracking all the things that happen in a business. And if somebody has a certain kind of genius, like if you put me, a creator genius, in the role of just doing customer service, like, it doesn't feed me, it doesn't fuel me. I would lose all my excitement and capacity. Or if you put me in the role of just data tracking, like, it would just be bad. So having a connection to, like, really understanding who you are and what kind of energy flows through you. And, you can take that basic understanding and you can go even further into it by looking at a little bit deeper at, like, what are the elemental energies that make up that genius and how can you express it more fully? Like, there's a couple layers we can look at in terms of helping you really get connected to your genius, to your purpose, and to your most core fundamental expression, and how that can help to bring you more success and connection.
Well, I'm with you. I'm a creative visionary. I can see the big picture, but I can bring it to life quickly. But I'm always creating. Have been since I was a child. But here's the funny part: as you were describing someone, my business manager Kim's been with me 11 years. She gets turned on by spreadsheets and tech and all this, and I'm like, oh my! I'm so glad you like to do that. And she's in her element, like you said, like that turns her on. She loves figuring out systems and processes. But if I was to do it, it would take my essence away, my joy away.
Exactly.
So I was giggling as you were saying it. I'm like, oh, I know who that one is.
Mm-hmm. And we need people on our team that are not just like us to really have a good, well-rounded business. We don't need a lot, but we need enough team in enough of these areas to really build it effectively, so we're not all trying to do the same thing and compete with each other, but we've got a multitude of skill sets that can work together.
Yeah, and then the other important part as an entrepreneur is letting go enough of the things that you are not your sweet spot and trusting and allowing. That was a big healing for me too.
Yeah.
I remember when I got my first BA, I was like, oh my God, 5 hour a week minimum. What am I supposed to do with give her 5 hours a week? The thought of letting go, Lisa, this is probably a decade ago. Within a month, I was like, she was up to 15 hours a week and then stayed with me for years. And it went up from there. And she goes, well, I see you have no trouble letting go now, huh? But again, it was another healing I had to go through, right? Because when you birth a business from the place of love and service, it's instead of the mindset of I'm going to build a business, like there's an energetic difference for me.
Yeah.
It's a baby.
Yeah.
And you grow baby. It. And it was very hard. But I look now and see, like someone said to me, I think I was on a show, 5 years ago. And they said, so you're the woman that birthed Aspire magazine and blah, blah, blah. And I said, well, actually, I'd like to correct you. I said, Aspire gave birth to me. Because birthing Aspire, when I didn't know publishing, marketing, I didn't know anything. I just followed a vision that I was given in a dream and 6 months later brought it to life. But I didn't have any background in any of that. And the reason I say that is the process of trusting what you receive, especially I was new at doing that, and bringing something to life through you in that way is I think it's the deepest personal development journey you can ever go on.
For sure.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
This has been the most, I don't know, it's because of the birth of Aspire and my commitment to her, because it probably the first 3 to 5 years out of 15 would have been easier for me to walk away.
Mm-hmm.
Right? Because,
Mm-hmm.
you're struggling, you don't know what you're doing. I was print, so I was spending $15,000 every 8 weeks to give away a free magazine.
Oh, wow.
And I stuck with it. Thank God my honey stood by me.
Right.
And then everything turned the corner. But the wounds I had to face, right? The healing I had to do as a woman to come up, and which I think was the water element, all those emotional wounds, right?
Absolutely.
Yeah. So I see, I think being a spiritual entrepreneur, especially, like you said, heart-centered thought leaders, it's a call to action for ourselves so that we can bring this mission to life.
Definitely.
Did you find that at growing your natural rhythms segment of your business?
I absolutely did. Actually, with every phase of business that I've been in, I've done it because I had a deep, deep calling to do that thing, and really felt like the business itself was alive and, had the way that it was going to grow and develop. So absolutely.
Yeah, I really believe it's I know it's what I'm here for. And so now anytime I'm up against something new, or I'm stretching out of my comfort zone, which I'm always doing, I no longer have the fear. I might have a little trepidation, but I don't have that fear anymore, because I remind myself constantly, remember when you were so scared to do this, and then look, remember you were so scared to do this, and then look what happened. I have so many times of trusting the inner wisdom, trusting the inner guidance. And that would be the inner genius, right? The spirit.
Absolutely.
Okay.
Absolutely.
Yeah, I don't doubt now. I receive, I do. My what I like to tell my clients, because they go, how can you run 5 brands, take 12 weeks off a year, work 4-day weeks, and always seem zen? I said, practice, my friend, practice. But one of the things I tell them is, I no longer spend the time in my head doubting myself. I've built my trust muscles with my spirit. So it comes through the crown, that's the receiving. It processes through the heart, right? That's my intention. And I tell them the birth canal, when I birth it to the world, I let it go. The divine knows who is going to step into each project. I've done my part. I delivered the project. That was my sacred commitment to the divine. And then the divine takes care of the rest. I never stress of who's going to be in a book, who's going to be in a project. I go, the divine already knows, and I let it go. My job was done. And I'm not saying that would work for everyone, but it works for how I process my creativity.
Beautiful. That's just beautiful, Linda.
Well, I want to touch in our last few minutes. We've got to talk about Earth. So when would you tune into a deeper connection to Earth?
Well, first of all, Earth is the container for all our relationship to the other elements. So when you think about your own body, that's the container for the water that you have inside, for the breath coming in and out, for your relationship to your life force, which is fire. So Earth is really super important to number one, to ground anything, to put something into structure and form, to embody something, so that you have this embodied knowing instead of just a head knowing about something. Earth is so precious because it gives us our whole, the shape and form to everything that we have. Earth itself, it provides our food and our clothes and all the things of matter that we have in our lives. It's a relationship. I think Earth is one of the key places where our relationship to money lives too, although it connects to every other realm. So when you're talking about Earth, you really are talking about the intersection of every other realm. I mean, outside of the Earth, if the Earth itself is not watered, then it dries up and it gets hard and it's not fertile anymore. So each one of the elements as it interacts with earth really matters. So in your business, as you know the shape and structure of it, or you're bringing in a new shape or structure of something, then you want to make sure that you have all of the other elements in right alignment to really create in a powerful way and to bring forth your gifts in a really strong way in the world.
It's so beautiful. You can feel the energy, right? Yeah. You can feel it, it brings me back to years ago where I could manifest. I'm probably 30 years ago. I never knew how to ground things because I wasn't grounded, which is earth energy, right?
Right. Absolutely.
So I could, like when I was in my 20s, my mother would always say, you never finish anything, because I was always 100 miles an hour. Go, 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 go. Because I was never grounded. I see that now. I didn't see it then. That's earth energy, right? To bring it into and embody the vision, the dream, if we're talking about a business.
Yep. And to take it to completion. Completion is a whole energy all its own, and completion brings energy for more things. But if you're constantly spinning out new things and never getting it all the way to completion, then you feel like incapable and frustrated because nothing's taking shape or form. It's just getting partially there.
And wouldn't that also scatter your air energy because you have so much uncompleted?
Oh, yes.
That's how I was. Yep, that was me.
Definitely.
Hot projects everywhere around me and my team.
And that's hard.
Oh, yes. Well, Lisa, I am so glad that you could join me today. I want to invite everyone to visit lisa-michaels.com. Lisa, if there's anything you want to share in the last moment, an invitation, anything you have going on, something you want to tell them about.
Oh, I just love for everybody to go download my free gift. But more than anything, Linda, I just want to encourage people to just get out in nature and open for that relationship, and to just really appreciate you and your listeners and this community. Thank you so much.
Oh, you're welcome, my friend. And until next time, everyone, choose love, choose joy, choose happiness, my friends. Blessings.
Thanks for listening to Inspired Conversations with publisher Linda Joy. Join our sacred space every Tuesday at 2 p.m. Eastern and meet leading female visionaries, empowering authors, heart-centered female entrepreneurs, coaches, and healers. Inspired Conversations with Linda Joy is a soulful venue where guests share the obstacles they've overcome, along with wisdom and lessons learned on their personal journey that led them to the transformational work they do in the world. Inspired Conversations to empower you on your path to authentic and soulful living.